Everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I'm not going to sing on this video, but I just want to show you a few, give you a few updates on some of the other Bitcoin matters that other people are interested in. CIFR, CIFR, monthly chart. It's been going sideways for about 9 months. If you pull up the Bollinger Band here, you can see the 20-month moving average is just kind of hugging it like a cup right here. And it's been really changing its trend from downtrend to flatten to uptrending. Is starting to get above some of these volume shelves right up here. And the Bollinger Band is starting to expand a little bit. It's a pretty good looking chart. It looks like there's a bunch of energy that's being built up. Can potentially explode to the higher end. It does look like there was a lot of interest in terms of buying pressure right around December. Price just didn't go up that far. And since then, there are some pretty high volume selling, but the volume selling seems to be a little bit, going downhill, and the trend continues to go up. This is a pretty decent setup. You just look at the Bollinger Band, just look at the 20-moving average effect that is spending the majority of the time on the upper part of the Bollinger Band and starting to develop a bull trend. This could be a beginning of something that's a little bit longer term. It's looking pretty decent. Now, in addition to looking at Bollinger Band, I also like to look at the Ichimoku cloud. It had something that's pretty bullish that has happened. One is a couple months ago it had a bullish Tenkan Kijun cross, which generally signifies the longer bull trend is to come. In addition to that, it also has flipped the Kijun, the blue line here, as support from resistance to support. And price so far, now we need confirmation on this, but so far price seemed to be above the monthly Tenkan as well. So it looks like initially it's trying to flip the Tenkan as support here, and went back down, broke down, served as resistance for a few months, and now we might be starting to kind of break above of it. So these things are looking pretty decent. So both the 20-month moving average, Bollinger Band expansion, the fact that price is staying above on the upper part of Bollinger Band for 9 months now, and also you had on the Ichimoku cloud bullish cross right here. Both Tenkan and Kijun potentially get service support. Price is starting to challenge the top of this big volume shelf right here. All of these are pretty positive signs. Matter of fact, price has spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months trying to break above this volume shelf right here. A lot of the supply has already been kind of eaten up. So this is actually going to be one of the better setup. I think if it happens, it can happen pretty fast and it can end up being potentially pretty explosive. Maybe it'll even get through all of these little volume shelves up here. Maybe it'll go all the way to $10. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be like super ridiculous or anything like that, but I think that a bunch of energy has been building up here, and so far this whole 8 or 9 months, all these price action here are kind of stacking to the bullish side, if you will. If you look at the weekly chart, the weekly chart can also show you the Ichimoku cloud served as resistance down here, break through the Ichimoku cloud, got pretty close to kind of back testing over here, finally actually back tested it, and was able to use the Ichimoku cloud as support. So resistance over here turned into support. Right now, price is above the Ichimoku cloud on weekly too. This is a little bit of a promising look, if you will. The buying volume also seemed to be pretty high on these weeks. Compared to the selling volume, it seems the buying volume tends to be higher. So these are all very positive development for CIFR. Another thing is, if you don't look at the Ichimoku cloud, and you just look at the weekly moving averages, you can see that it's stacking to the bullish side, 20, which is orange here, over 50, blue, over 100. All three are actually starting to point up, and price is above all three. So as far objective-wise speaking, this is a bull trend on the weekly. And it's, bull trend tends to be bullish. You keep on following the trend. You follow the trend to the end until the trend's no longer a trend, until it ends. But right now it looks like it has just begun. So everything I'm looking at is actually quite promising. Now, if I pull up the banker fund this week, it actually has some inflow this week here too, despite the fact that Bitcoin has corrected. Quite intriguing, if you will. Now, monthly, the price action still hasn't been long enough for me to put the monthly banker, but the weekly looks like it's starting to turn around the corner here a little bit, which is good. If you also look at another way to look at kind of like a volume kind of thing, if you look at the unbalanced volume, you can see there's a huge increase in the unbalanced volume right here. Even the price has not really gone up that much. Actually, this, if you count this, it may be even a little bit of like a bearish divergence here. But everything else, looking based on volume-wise, there's a lot of volume, but price just not pushing up very high. I think they might actually be trying to do something behind the scene here. I don't know exactly what is going to happen, but it makes you wonder what's going to happen. So CIFR, let's look at another one. I just want to get a couple, them just kind of knock out of the way. Look at Riot. Riot's been going sideways, no surprise. It's been doing that for a very long time. And if you look at the monthly here, it's been months number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, doing absolutely nothing. And if you look at the indicators, it actually looks like buying volume is pretty decent. You do have some pretty decent selling volume here, but buying volume has been, for the most part, pretty high over the last year or two. And if you pull some of the important indicators, let's pull up the Bollinger Bands. It's not really expanding, but it's starting to crawl up, and price is still spending majority of the time above the 20-month moving average on the upper part of the Bollinger Band. So these are still kind of bullish development, even though there's not any kind of impulsive indication that price is just going to go up. It might still need to work out some things here, but so far the trend is turning positive. If you look at the if you look at the Ichimoku cloud here, you can see that it did have a bullish Tengen Kijun cross, although price is below both. So it probably still need to maybe take a couple months to kind of break back above, maybe even back test it before going up higher. It's a little bit of a laggard, but I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know if you follow this stock. On the weekly, if you look at the weekly Ichimoku cloud, it's still a little bit below the Ichimoku cloud, but it's okay. It's just been oscillating between high, upper, and lower. It doesn't mean anything here at this point. I do think that the oscillation is becoming less and less. I think there's a lot of energy that's been built up. It's probably going to pick a direction because the 20-month moving average is pointing up. I think the direction is probably going to be pointing up, but is it going to be very impulsive? I don't know. It just doesn't seem that way at this point because it's still working out its technicals. If you look at the weekly moving averages, it's still stacking to the bullish side, 20 above 50, above 100. This is a bull trend, guys. The bull trend started right around here in around November or so, and it's just been kind of working on its technicals, but so far you're seeing a full bull trend. So nothing to get bearish about. It's just that it's an underperformer, which upsets a lot of people. That is, for the most part, Riot. I actually want to pick up the... let me close this thing. Let me pick up the L3 banker fund. I'll show you there's a little bit of outflow here, but it's no big deal. It's just been oscillating around. Overall, it does seem that it's just been sideways. Like, I'm not really that concerned about it. If you look at the monthly, there is still an increase in inflow. There was a buy signal, around July of last year, and since then there's still an increase in inflow, even though the inflow is not as impulsive as some of the other ones that I was looking at, showing you before, like Mara. CIFR actually had a better inflow, but it's still bullish on the monthly. This is not anything that I'm necessarily going to be super worried about or anything like that. That's Riot. If you're going to look at another one, I would probably look at HUT real quick. HUT on the monthly, there's still no inflow being seen, although the outflow is slowly starting to trend less and less. I do think that there's probably going to be some inflow coming in over the next couple of months or so. And it's still having the same look where it's bouncing off this line. It's still a laggard. It was a laggard during the last cycle. It's definitely a laggard during this cycle. It's still below some of the volume shelves here, so I still don't know what to make of it. But that's the monthly. The Bollinger Band is still trying to flatten, and the price is below the on the lower part of the Bollinger Band. So I'm going to be a little bit cautious on this. I really like the price to be spending a significant amount of time above the upper Bollinger Band before I can be sure. Although HUD kind of had this personality where it can just build a bunch of energy below the on the below the moving average, the 20-month moving average, just underneath right here for a while before kind of shooting up, maybe late in the cycle. We'll see whether or not this happens or not. I wouldn't necessarily count on something like this happening, although I would not be surprised if that happens. In addition to the Bollinger Band, I also look at a couple other things here too, such as the Ichimoku Cloud, far away from having a bullish cross, still pretty far away from having a bullish cross. There is so far not much to tell you that, this is a bull trend. Still pretty far below the weekly upper Bollinger Band as well. The weekly Tenkan has served as resistance. And so far, this is still definitely, the major laggard here for a bigger cap Bitcoin miner. In addition, we look at the moving averages. They're not really stuck into the bull side either. 20 is down. 50 is starting to kind of slip down a little bit. 100's down. So, it doesn't look that great. Doesn't mean that it's not going to turn bullish, not necessarily. I mean, you're going to have eventually price kind of, work itself out, especially if the macroeconomics changes, eventually IWM also become very bullish. There's a potential for this thing to catch up, but so far the moving average is kind of stacked to the bearish side. So I'm not gonna be too super bullish on this or anything like that. Another one that's kind of popular is IREN. There is a weekly bull trend. Actually, let me do it a little bit more systematically. If you just look at the price itself, if you just look at the price itself, it's doing kind of what Riot is doing. It's kind of oscillating between this level. If you look at the monthly, and the best way to look at the monthly is to look at the Bollinger Band and see what it's doing. Bollinger Band squeezed a little bit here. It's not quite expanding yet. The 20-month moving average was initially very, very strongly downslope, and now it's starting to flatten. Price did test this 20-month moving average, was able to find support and bounced. And right now, the majority of the time is spending above the upper Bollinger Band. On the upper part of upper Bollinger Band here. So it's looking like it wants to develop a bull trend. It looks like the 20-month moving average most likely is going to go up. Most likely the Bollinger Band, when the price goes up, it's going to end up expanding. It's going to allow the price to go up higher because it does have some beginning of indicator of some possible bullish signal that's going on. Although this is not nearly as strong as Mara. Not nearly as strong, even for CIFR or Bitfarms. This is still kind of like a beginning kind of look to it. So there's no certainty, there's no confirmation. I'd like to see a little bit more out of this guy, but the buying volume here seems to be increasing, where selling volume here seems to be a little bit declining. We'll see what happens. Instead of looking at Bollinger Band, let's look at the Ichimoku Cloud. Looking at the Ichimoku Cloud, there's still not bullish cross. Tenkan still serve as resistance right now on the monthly. Initially, it tried to use it as a support over here. It was not able to sustain the support. Broke down of it. Tried to push up out of it for months number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're not able to turn Tenkan into support quite just yet. After 5 months of trying, the more it tries, I think it's probably going to be more likely that it's going to break back above. And once it breaks back above, there's also a better chance for Tenkan to cross below and for Tenkan to go up. Hopefully both of them can serve as support and push the price up higher as the bull market continues. It is a little bit helpful to see that the Tenkan is stepping up. So this, in a way, this is like a moving average, but it's a moving period average. Regardless, what I'm trying to say is that you can see the line going down here, you can see the line going up here. So I think that most likely Tenkan is not going to serve as very, very, very significant resistance moving forward. I do think that price is probably going to end up pushing up higher. If you look at the weekly Ichimoku Cloud, it's trying to, it actually looks a little bit better than Riot. It's trying to use the cloud as support, although right now it's kind of broken down a little bit. It pushed over here, it served as resistance here, right? Broke up, broke down, and then trying to bounce back up and then try to use that to test as support. Right now, I think it's still kind of, maybe we're still using it to see whether or not it can serve as a little bit of support to slow down this downtrend. Volume seems to be decreasing in terms of the selling. Buy volume tends to be going up. Buy volume is going up here. Sell volume has gone down here. These are generally more, bullish indicators saying that, hey, even though the price is oscillating, the volume is telling you that maybe there is a lot more buyers coming in than sellers. We're just trying to get the sellers to kind of exhaust before we go up. That's kind of what I'm seeing. And again, with the moving averages, is everything, actually for this one, everything is kind of stacked to the bull side. The 20 is pointing up, 50 is pointing up. There's a nice separation between 20 and 50, and 100 just point down. But I think if you give enough time, it's going to flatten. 20 above 50, above 100. This is a bull trend on a weekly. It's one that I'm certainly interested in keep on following. One last one I want to look at real quick. WULF, WULF. It does look like the 20 is probably going to cross over to 50 here soon. It does look like, once that happens, you're going to have a full weekly bull trend. All those prices kind of stuck right now between all these moving averages, kind of getting squeezed. But the good thing is, again, this is only Tuesday. Maybe if we're at the end of the week, maybe volume would be a little bit higher. But so far, it seems like buying volume's up over here. Selling volume's down. Buying volume's up. Selling volume seems to be trending down. So it does seem that this is a little bit of more like a reaccumulation, if you will. That's kind of what I'm seeing based on volume profile. And if you look at the weekly Ichimoku cloud, you can see the price is actually underneath the cloud. So there's not much promise in terms of using the cloud as support, but that's okay. I think it's just probably going to need some time to kind of work out. The cloud's so thin anyway, so I'm not sure the cloud here necessarily means anything in terms of resistance or support. I would much rather look at this point, the moving averages, which may be a little bit more meaningful and starting to show you that perhaps there's a building up a bull trend that's coming up, pretty soon. We'll see. But that's the weekly for WULF. If you look at the monthly, it's still pretty far away from developing like a longer term bull trend. I think part of the reason why is because it has this big giant drop right down here, and price only has recovered a little bit. So I think we're still a little bit further away. You put the Ichimoku cloud, it's still pretty far away from the Tenkan bullish cross, and that's okay. I think price did spend the last 3 months trying to break back above the Tenkan, use that support, and the more it tries, I think the more likely Tenkan is going to break, and we're going to be able to turn that from resistance to support maybe over the next few months or so to kind of stepwise and eventually perhaps even going parabolic up above to the cloud. That we'll see what happens. I think this is one of those that are quite interesting to follow. The other thing to look at is the monthly Bollinger Band. The monthly Bollinger Band is looking pretty decent actually for this name. There's a little bit of squeeze right here, and you can see that the 20-month moving average is actually flattening. If anything, it's pointing up a little bit. Price has spent the last 3 to 4 months on the upper part of the Bollinger Band, which is a very important thing for it to continue to high. The longer it stays up here above the 20-month moving average, the more likelihood you're going to be able to develop a stronger, longer-term bull trend. So this is WULF, and there are plenty of others. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the others. Just want to go through quickly about 5 of these. They don't look too bad, with the exception of HUT. I don't know what HUT's doing, so I'm out of HUT. But anyway, thank you for listening. Have a good one. Bye.